So I've wanted to make this video for a long time because what can you even buy for $400 these days? A Vincero with a sheet of plywood? Or you can get one of these amazing watches from an 100-year-old manufacturer with a real place in military history. Your call. Hey guys, I'm Max and welcome back to Hot Ones. So whether we like it or not, some of the greatest technological advances have been made during wartime, and watches played a crucial role on the wrists of soldiers. A reliable timepiece sometimes meant the difference between life or death. Nowadays, of course, watches more equate to luxury, but today I've assembled three watches, a Flieger, a field watch, and a diver, that actually made appearances during war theaters. These watches hail from storied manufacturers. They don't break the bank, but still carry forth their rich military DNA. Our first $400 contender is the Laco Aachen. Now, we must first acknowledge that this watch was on the wrong side of history during the Second World War. The infamous Luftwaffe were known for their ruthless efficiency. Originally an instrument of 55mm, the Beer, or observation watch, were issued to navigators before each mission and returned afterwards. The Aachen pictured here is a miniaturized version of the original at just 39mm wide and 12mm thick. And I don't much care for the skinny 18mm lug width, so I have matched it here with a Rios Flieger style strap, giving it more presence at the lugs. The movement on this watch is the Miyota 821, but if you are willing to step up to an ETA, I would actually recommend the version from Stowa. That one has a 20mm lug width and heat-treated blued hands. Back then, these large instruments utilized pocket watch movements and placed legibility above all. A big onion-shaped crown allowed pilots to operate them with gloves on. During the war, 5 German watch manufacturers aided in the efforts, these being IWC, Lange, Stowa, Laco, and Wimpy. All but Lange still make some version of the Flieger. What we have here is the Type B version, with a 60-minute track on the outside and a smaller 12-hour track on the inside. The Type A was more of a standard dial with just 12-hour markers. There is much to love about this distinct dial layout, with these big leaf-shaped hands looking like something out of the cockpit of a Messerschmitt. Even at 39mm, the watch has a robust presence on the wrist, whether you're timing bombing raids or just errands to the post office. Now let's turn our attention to the field watch. So Hamilton is synonymous with this category, and they have many models to choose from. Now, I think there's two ways to do this. If you're a purist, you would go with the Hamilton Khaki Mechanical. This is the closest replica to the mil-spec watches issued to the Army. It is a no-nonsense three-hander with a bead-blasted case and faux patina to boot. The other option is the Hamilton Khaki Automatic. You arguably get more watch at the same price, and it's the one that I chose to go with today. Now, we've covered this watch before on the channel, but on this rustic Kolareb strap, it is worth another visit. Field watches were standard issue to soldiers in World War II, and the A11 specification by the US military was straightforward and called for a no-frills stainless watch with a hand-wound hacking movement with center seconds. Field watches were also known as trench watches, and thus needed to stand up to the elements while keeping accurate time. They were made to be dust and water resistant and often came on durable canvas or NATO straps. The hour markers are typically all Arabic for easy legibility and painted with luminous paint. Hamilton was one of the suppliers to the US Army in the 40s, and it is where the Khaki line draws its inspiration from. The Khaki Field Automatic makes a few modern departures from the original formula by introducing a self-winding rotor with this H10 movement, which is a modified ETA 2824. Hamilton was able to extract an impressive 80 hours of power reserve, and they were able to do this while maintaining an extremely thin 11mm case. There is a 42mm wide version, but I find the 38 to be perfectly proportioned. There's also an additional date function, but it is the small details that please the eye. A bright red accent highlights the arrow tip on the second hand, and a radially lined circular track adorns the hour markers, bringing the style to life. On the wrist, this is one of those watches that just disappears. With the black dial and polished bezel, it is also supremely versatile. Whether accompanying a t-shirt or slipping under a dress cuff, this watch can do it all and has no business being less than $1,000. Now, the last watch is a diver that wasn't necessarily issued by the military, but it was so good that soldiers bought them with their own money and wore them during the Vietnam War. Now, if you watched thus far, please take a moment and go down and give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. It's free and it will really help us to survive on YouTube. Thank you. Last but certainly not least is the Seiko Turtle. Yes, Seiko makes a dizzying number of models, and even though enthusiasts have endearingly given the divers nicknames such as Turtle, Samurai, or Tuna, it is still hard to keep track of them all. But when it comes to military chops, the Turtle rises above the rest. Unveiled in the 70s, the 6105 introduced this rounded, cushion-shaped case, resembling a turtle shell. The watch quickly gained wide popularity for its 150 meters of water resistance and general robust nature. In fact, it was a popular item offered in postal exchange stores and found their way onto the wrist of many US soldiers during the Vietnam War. This included the wrist of a fictional Captain Willard, played by Martin Sheen in the movie Apocalypse Now, forever enshrining the watch in military pop culture. Now, Seiko did make a more faithful Captain Willard reissue in 2020, but that one is twice the price without any real upgrades on paper as far as I can tell. Standing at 45mm wide and 13.5 thick, you'd think the Turtle is only reserved for those gifted in the wrist department. However, due to its compact 47 lug to lug, anyone can pretend to be slogging through the thick jungle for a day. In 2016, Seiko again raised the Turtle status by bringing it into the fold of the Prospects line. This increased the water resistance to 200 meters, and this King Turtle is fitted with sapphire glass, beneath which is this dynamic dial, looking like the bastard child between a royal oak and a hand grenade. Even the bezel is now made of scratch-resistant ceramic. So with most watches, there is this subconscious caution that one takes, not to scratch it on a wall or bump it into a door frame. But with this watch, you almost feel the opposite. Fitting like a wrist shield, I just have to be careful not to impulsively club someone in the head with it if they happen to cut in front of me in the coffee line. You know, during these war times, factories for household goods were converted to make bullets or tanks, but not watch factories. They continued to produce watches. And this is a testament for how critical wristwatches were for these soldiers, just like their rifles or helmets. Now, wearing these watches today is reminiscent of those turbulent times, and for me, slapping a military-inspired watch on my wrist makes me feel just a little bit tougher and ready to take on whatever the day can throw at me. Anyways, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below if there are other budget military watches I've missed. So thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.